have never been here before, and that was partly because of the philosophy. When Epcot first opened, the Disney folks wanted it to be a separate identity from Magic Kingdom, and so the fantasy characters were not brought over here.
Well, it's good to see Mickey and Minnie out and about now. I understand Mickey is developing a very fast friendship with an extraordinary character here at Epcot Center. He's over in the Journey into Imagination Pavilion. His name is Figment.
That's
as
right.
In figment of your you get it?
Yeah, I got it. He's very cute.
The bands are now beginning to take their position for the start of the review. The color guard going past us right now, and you're seeing it on your screen.
Now the bands, each one of them will be going up right in front of the reviewing stand and giving sort of a solo performance for the president. They're not all going to whisk by. Each one's going to have an audience with the president.
There's Mickey escorting the First Lady to the reviewing stand.
What a picture opportunity.
Oh, and there is Minnie, and I'm getting a big hug from the president.
I bet you President Reagan has never had an opening or a meeting like this before.
With all of the problems that obviously surround the President of the United States, this has to be a great getaway to come here to relax and enjoy yourself, if only for an hour and a half.
This is really the fun part of his Memorial Day. He's going to be whisking all around the stage. We'll tell everybody about that later on, but this is the fun and games, certainly for him today. That is a sight. Mickey Mouse in an Uncle Sam suit. I don't care how old you are, he's still adorable.
The first family of Disneyland, Disney World, meeting the first family of the United States.
Now that presidential reviewing area that we've been alluding to throughout the broadcast, and oh, Mickey.
Mickey saluting the President of the United States.
This whole area where you see the president standing has been sealed off early this morning, so Secret Service could make their normal routine sweep of the place like they do any time the president is out in the public. And it was just recently opened up so the VIPs could go in there and line up for this event.
Security, obviously, as you have indicated, is very, very tight. And I think they're now making their way. Is that Mickey pointing his way to the reviewing stand?
I think so.
Come this way.
And Mickey and Minnie showing the president and Nancy how to walk up the steps to the reviewing stand.
And Michael Eisner following along. I think it's hard to see on these monitors, but I believe that the Eisner family are waiting inside the reviewing booth right now. Taking his position.
Of course, they were the cities that we referred to before. These two are the host bands. They were not originally scheduled to be in the inauguration in Washington, but they are here today to honor their communities, which we told you before did so much to make this event possible, kicking in $150,000 to help the other students get here.
As a matter of fact, in a letter to Disney World, the president wrote that he was tremendously proud of these bands, and particularly these two Florida communities, for contributing sizable amounts of money to pull all this off. You indicated $150,000. To me, that's a sizable amount of money.
Yes, it is.
He says it's all a great example of his private sector initiative, and I believe he is. Here comes the St. Cloud High School from St. Cloud, Florida, behind the color guard.
And you know what's really interesting about these two bands is the fact that the kids in them did not know until a week ago that they were in fact going to be performing for the president. And you can imagine they were absolutely flabbergasted by it.
And when the parade gets underway, these two bands will march as a combined unit, 150 strong. As the host bands, obviously, as you see right here, they will be leading the parade. And look, coming here are...
Here comes one of the first units in the parade. You're about to see it. It is an antique steam calliope. You're going to see it in just a moment.
Yes. That's something to look forward to.
It is. And wait till you see it.
It's unbelievable. The Percheron horses are magnificent animals, and they'll be pulling the calliope. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, let's continue to look at the two bands that are the host bands for the parade today.
And if you've gotten a chance to get a peek at that presidential reviewing stand, you'll see that there's so much glass there that President Reagan really can see the entire band. It's not like he's in some stuffy theater. He can see everything, and they can see him, and I know each kid is going to memorize that moment. There you see.
As a matter of fact, I was talking with some of the kids prior to the parade, and I said, well, is it really hard to march with all this heat and so forth? And they said, no, they're not concerned about the heat at all. The only thing they're concerned about when they pass that reviewing stand, that they are in step and playing
that is
their
a
notes
concern.
correctly.
That's right. One thing to note, some of these band members are wearing quite warm suits. Some of these are wool suits that they would have worn in the original inaugural. And we're about to hear the national anthem.
And the thundering hooves you may hear in the background.
Would you please rise and join over 2,500 of the nation's finest young musicians, along with the Walt Disney World Orchestra and the Voices of Liberty, in the presentation of our national anthem.
Isn't that a sight to behold?
Ladies and gentlemen, here to welcome the President and Mrs. Reagan, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Walt Disney Productions, Mr. Michael Eisner, and his wife, Jane.
I'd like to welcome everybody here to Walt Disney World. Chief of Staff, Donald Reagan, welcome you here. All the other dignitaries, including the young people that came here. A man that's the oldest American to climb the Mount Everest is here with us. We welcome Mrs. Reagan as well. I just want to say that I was in Washington 105 degrees ago. It was minus 20 degrees at the inauguration. It's 85 here today. Even though this isn't the official, it's the unofficial inauguration parade. It's the first time since 1789 it has not been in Washington. I just want to say that Walt Disney, were he alive today, would be proud to be standing here in my place with the President of the United States. And I welcome him with Mrs. Lillian Disney, his widow, to our great, wonderful company here. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Please all be seated. And I want to thank all of you, Senator Paula Hawkins, Congressman Ireland, Congressman Connie Mack, McCollum, the distinguished people here, and Mr. and Mrs. Eisner, all of you ladies and gentlemen, and these wonderful young people. We have come here, our first stop this morning on this Decoration Day was at Arlington Cemetery. And I just wonder if, because of the special character of this day, Memorial Day, if we couldn't perhaps bow our heads for a few seconds in silent prayer for those who have given their lives that we might live in liberty. Amen. Well, indeed, it is an honor for me to be here today to receive a magnificent gift that I received and a second and very much warmer Inauguration Day. I understand that in preparing for this event, more than 2,500 young people worked with sponsors in the private sector who donated food, transportation, and lodging. And each of you who helped to make this private sector initiative possible has my heartfelt thanks. Tomorrow evening, I will address the nation about a dramatic proposal to reform our tax system. It's a proposal intended to launch a new American revolution and to give to you, young people, as you come of age, a nation of ever greater freedom and vitality and strength. You know, today we're enjoying a standard of living that when I was your age could not even have been imagined. Buoyed by medical breakthroughs and rising standards of living, the life expectancy of Americans has been increasing steadily for 50 years. I've already surpassed my own life expectancy at my birth by 20 years. Now, there are a lot of people that find that a source of annoyance, but I appreciate it very much. Today, we take for granted so many inventions that inspired wonder not long ago. The polio vaccines of Dr. Jonas Salk and Dr. Albert Sabin. Television, first in black and white and now in vivid color. Drought-resistant seeds and cold-resistant grains. Computers in the workplace and the home. Spacecraft that can orbit the Earth for days and then land gently on a desert runway. Despite the predictions so many made during the Great Depression when I was a young man, life in America today is not worse. It's far better. And let us ask then, what made it so? Was it government directing our daily lives? During these past 5 decades, the government has indeed provided vital services and helped improve life for many people. No one doubts the necessity of a strong national defense or the role our military has played in keeping us free. Likewise, no one doubts the importance of the government's safety net for those in genuine need. Yet our national experience shows that when government grows beyond these two limited duties, when government lays claim to more and more of our resources and begins through massive regulation and high taxation to impinge on our individual freedoms, then our economy grows not more prosperous, but less so. Throughout the 1970s, for example, government's growth was unbridled, yet our economy stagnated. By 1980, the gross national product registered zero growth. If it was not the government that spurred our economic growth, was it perhaps our natural resources? Our vast land has always been blessed by a mighty multitude of resources, broad plains, powerful rivers, and rich deposits of minerals. Yet in a sense, the primary reality of a resource exists not in the earth, but in the minds of the men and women who give it usefulness and value. Consider oil. A century ago, oil was nothing but a thick, foul, and useless liquid. It was the invention of the internal combustion engine that gave oil its function. Or think of sand. Sand that used to be nothing but the stuff that deserts are made of. The development of the silicon microchip has given sand a vital function. And today we use it to make chips that give home computers their intelligence, monitor functions on aircraft, and guide our satellites through the dark reaches of space. No, it's not been so much our resources or our government that have given us our enduring vibrancy and growth, but the initiative and enterprise of individual Americans. Air travel, for example, has become commonplace because test pilots like Lindbergh had daring and engineers like Boeing and Douglas had the wits and determination. The government might have wished it could simply decree a polio vaccine, but it took years of unremitting effort and dedication by Drs. Salk and Sabin to make the vaccines a reality. In this setting, one story of a private initiative is particularly appropriate. Back in Missouri, in the early 1900s, there lived a farm boy who discovered that he had a knack for drawing barnyard animals. As an adult, he began to put his animals into cartoons, and he became convinced that he could entertain people by telling stories about a little creature with a high voice, red trousers and yellow shoes and white gloves. Professionals in the field made fun of the idea, and to produce his first cartoons, the young man had to sell or pawn virtually everything he owned. But today, 57 years later, this man and his creation have become permanently fixed in the history of our popular culture. His name was Walt Disney. His little creature was Mickey Mouse. The determination that each of these heroes of progress demonstrated came from within. Yet in each case, it was crucial to the success of their efforts that they were operating in a climate of economic liberty, in a free market where they could make use of pooled resources, experiment with new techniques and products, and submit their plans and hypotheses to the test of practical experience. This aspect of freedom, economic freedom, is one of the distinctive characteristics of life in our nation, as interwoven into the American legacy as freedom of speech and press. It has enabled our people to make our nation into a marvel of economic progress. And as with all the freedoms that we enjoy, it's our duty to cherish and protect it. Just as the American people rebelled against oppressive taxation some 2 centuries ago, the reform that I will announce tomorrow will represent a dramatic effort to make our tax code more simple, efficient, and fair, and place more resources into the hands of your families and ultimately you yourselves. It'll expand our economic freedom and clear the way for even greater economic vitality than that which we enjoy today. Nor will the benefits be economic alone. With more resources at their disposal, the American people will be able to provide greater support to the institutions that they themselves value: our schools, universities, the arts, our churches and synagogues. As our economy grows, they too will flourish. John Marshall said, "The power to tax involves the power to destroy." If so, then the power to cut taxes must surely be the power to create, the power to force government to stand back and let the people themselves give expression to the spirit of enterprise, building and imagining, giving to you, our sons and daughters, a nation of ever greater prosperity and freedom. My friends, thank you again for the gift of this magnificent inaugural parade. May you enjoy all the blessings of a free and bountiful nation. And on this, the eve of the Second American Revolution, may you always remember the enduring truth that our tax plan seeks to embody and that Americans have cherished through the ages. God made man for liberty. Thank you all. God bless you. And now, let the parade begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, Walt Disney World is proud to present from across the nation the finest bands in the land in the President's Inaugural Bands Parade.
And there you see the very beginning of the procession. And coming
And what
up,
you're hearing is the Calliope.
that's right, the Calliope we alluded to earlier is about to come on your TV screen, and there it is. This is an antique steam Calliope, and like these student bands here, it was also supposed to be in the Washington inaugural, and this has a lot of sentimental value for Disney World because this calliope was bought by Walt Disney to open Disneyland in California.
And we were talking about the horses pulling the calliope earlier. This 8-horse team pulling the calliope was voted absolutely the best in the world, winning the World Championship in 1983 at the famous Calgary Stampede.
And those horses have an interesting story behind them. Disney World bought them from an Indiana horseman who was about to retire, but he missed his horses so much he decided, well, he was going to move to Florida and become a Disney World worker, and he is driving that calliope today. And look at them. You can understand why he would miss them. They are magnificent.
I sure can. Each of these horses is about 6 feet high. They're big Bergeron horses, and that's 18 hands in the old Indian parlance.